One of the things we knew he had to do down the road was show Mike Pejou the photo lineup that I showed all these other people. To our knowledge, he had never seen a photo lineup with Arthur Leigh Allen in it. I just thought it was going to be bip bam and I'd be on the way. And so I had this photo lineup with me, and I chatted with him briefly, how you doing and what's going on, and then I gave him what they call the lineup admonishment. Admonishment is that I'm going to show you a group of photographs. The responsible that shot you on July 4th, 1969 may or may not be amongst these group of photos. Merely because I'm showing you pictures, you don't have to pick somebody out. He said he understood. I gave him this set of pictures. He looked at it for about 20 seconds, and he said, pointed to Arthur Leigh Allen and said, "That's him, that's the man that shot me."
Unsolved, a Nancy Drew production. Tonight's episode.
Oh, Mr. Allen, are you the Zodiac killer?
Act 1.
This is a poem written in pen on a desktop at the RCC Library. It was found 2 months after the murder of Cheri Jo Bates. Okay, last week I showed you the G's where they don't have the tail. Now I'm going to show you the H's. So see this H right here? I'm going to make an Arthur Leigh Allen H. And so it goes straight down, and then it goes up, and then over, and then a little like that. That's the best I can do. But it's down, over, kind of like a check, and then that part. Down, straight down, then a check, and then over or down. This is Arthur Leigh Allen's job application from 1966, the same year. And if you look at Arthur and then you look at Leigh in the H at the end of Leigh, and now I'm going to superimpose the RCC desktop H onto this application, and I'm going to do it with 3 different H's, and you tell me if it doesn't look like the same H or not. So here's the first H. Compare those 2 H's. Do they look the same? Okay, and then here's the second H. Do those H's look the same? And then here's the third H, a different H from the desktop. And do those H's look the same to you? To me, they look almost identical. Okay, here is a look at the word this. And there's the this on the desktop. And then the next this is from Arthur Leigh Allen's job application. Now you can see that the H's have that similar look, and you can see how close they look. Now it kind of makes me laugh when people say, well, they're not exactly the same. Well, people don't write exactly the same every time. They're not wildly different.
Act 2.
The Zodiac killer mailed this card to the San Francisco Chronicle on November 8th, 1969. And this is what it looks like inside, what the Zodiac wrote. And we're going to focus on just the top part and compare it to Arthur Leigh Allen's writing. First, I'm going to put the RCC Library desktop this up here on the screen, and I want to compare it to the Zodiac's writing. And the first thing I want to show you is the TH, and then there's a little space, and then the IS. Can you see that in the Zodiac's writing? That there's a little bit of a space between the H and I. And then on the Riverside desktop, there's a little bit of space between the H and the I. Then look at the dots on the eyes. Both are, the eye is slanted and the dot is to the right. The eye is slanted and the dot is to the right. And then if you look at the this and then the is, the top part of the S doesn't go over to the right. It's like it's incomplete. It stops short of going to the right side. Okay, now here is Arthur Leigh Allen's this from his job application. And even though it's not exactly the same, it still has the same kind of patterns. If you look at the H has that similar down and then over and then down. And then the I is slanted and the dot is a little bit to the right. And even though the T and the H have a big separation there, there's still that little space between the H and the I. See, between Zodiac's and Arthur Leigh Allen's this. And you can see like the I and the S are close together. Arthur Leigh Allen was under suspicion from the police right away in the early 1970s. And he wrote a friend. And this is a little clip from his writing about the Zodiac. And here's his writing of Zodiac compared to the Zodiac's writing of the word Zodiac. And just look how similar those are. Something that just popped out to me. Look at the Zodiac's writing of Zodiac, and the dot on the I is way to the right. That's exactly how Arthur Leigh Allen's job application on the I's and it are.
Act 3.
In this episode, you can see that I'm still investigating Arthur Leigh Allen for the murder of Cheri Jo Bates. And so far, I've just covered the Riverside desktop, that and his physical description. Now I'm going to explain why Mr. Allen was in Riverside. He was a movie fan, Steve McQueen fan, and a car racing fan. And so I believe he was down in Riverside for auto races at the Riverside International Speedway, which is no longer there anymore. And you can see from this auto racing magazine, Times Grand Prix, that there was auto racing from October 27th through the 30th. And in the year 1966. And you can see from this work receipt that Mr. Allen was off on November 1st. He took a sick leave day. And I'm going to go more into detail on this in a future episode. And to break down the days, October 29th was a Saturday, and October 30th was a Sunday, and the main race started Sunday afternoon, and it ended around the time Cheri Jo Bates was at the library at RCC.
Epilogue.
About 6 months after Mr. Allen was terminated from Valley Springs Elementary School, and a few days after his 35th birthday, Betty Lou and David Faraday were shot and murdered on Lake Herman Road. Well, this ends this episode of Unsolved, and next week, when we look at the Zodiac case, we're either going to examine Arthur Leigh Allen some more, or we might go back to Flake, Crawford, Casto. So I'll see you next week.